Here is the breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Terror investigation in Australia. Police say the deadly Bondi Beach shooting in Sydney was inspired by ISIL. And investigation continues into the attackers' motives and travel history. Welcome to SATV's International Affairs. My name is Rashid Kanchon. I'll be your host in the studio. And this program is broadcasting from SATV's Dhaka studio live, and I have a very distinguished, very respectable, very well-known personality in the studio as panelist, Professor Dr. Imtiaz, veteran professor on international relations. So, international relations is very, very interesting subject for him. He writes international affairs, he reads it, he teaches it, and he speaks on it. I have our international affairs commentator Shamsul Panthu in the studio, and of course from Washington, SATV's geopolitical correspondent based in Washington DC, Norman Flat-Barnes will be from Washington. Let me begin from Shamsul Panthu as he follows the breaking news stories all the time. Sir, what are the input you want to put today?
Well, of course, a very good afternoon to you, Mr. Kanchan, and of course, welcoming Professor Dr. Imtiaz in the studio once again. And we have Norman Flood-Barnes joining us from Washington, D.C. I want to begin today's discussion by saying there are some top news that I want to bring out. The U.S. on Monday had conducted 3 strikes on 3 vessels allegedly engaged in narco trafficking in the Eastern Pacific Ocean, killing 8 people on board. This is, of course, according to the U.S. Southern Command, and it had taken direct orders from the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. They were executed in international waters by Joint Task Force Southern Spear. And of course, on the other side, the German government on Monday announced a 10-point plan at expanding defense industry cooperation with Ukraine amid the ongoing conflict with Russia. And if we were to look at Israel and Gaza, the International Criminal Court's Appeals Chamber has rejected an Israeli challenge to the legality of the court's investigation into war crimes committed in Gaza after October 2023.
All right, there is a breakthrough from Donald Trump administration. President Trump filed a massive $10 billion defamation lawsuit against world's most reputed media organization, British Broadcasting Corporation, claiming an edited 2021 speech muzzled voters in the 2024 US elections. The underscores continuing legal and media battles shaping US politics. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to Washington, where Norman is ready to put his basket, to open his basket with the breaking news stories, and I will request him to add BBC lawsuit against BBC by Trump. Norman Flat-Barnes.
Greetings from Washington, D.C. Today we start out a new day, another cold day in Washington, with the updates from the murder killing of Rob Reiner and his wife in Los Angeles. A arrest has been made of his son Nick in regards with this stemming from a argument they had the day before. So this investigation is continuing. While the president has chose to make some disparaging comments about Rob Reiner and the cause of his death. So right now we are trying to absorb that disparaging comments he made about this director and his wife being killed, and people are very shocked at a sitting president would make such a comment regarding someone who has lost their lives. So that's some of the issues that we're looking at today. And at the same time, the judges has given the Trump administration until Monday to remove all National Guard troops from Los Angeles.
All right, Norman, let us begin from Trump's lawsuit against British Broadcasting Corporation. $10 billion for defamation. I want to take the tech from Professor Dr. Imtiaz, my very favorite, he's a very well respected personality. Sir, what precedent could these lawsuits set for press freedom and media accountability globally, because we learn from West?
Thank you. I think there are two sides to it. One, of course, BBC's right to broadcast things, but at the same time, and there's a second side to it, which I think the US President has taken objection to it, is how do you frame the news? From Trump's point of view, is that they framed it in a negative way, took some of the words out of the context. The BBC did apologize, don't forget that, they apologized. If I am not sure, Panto probably would know, probably the person also resigned, isn't it? They have gone to the extent which has allowed Trump to do what he is doing, because he knows that BBC made an error, and this is not the first time that they have made an error. So, on the one hand, BBC's reputation is at stake, on the other hand, President's this defamation suit definitely will put pressure on what is called the free press.
All right, sir. Let us get the new generation comment on this. He is following this story very deeply because he himself is into media business and he is a journalist as well. Sir, how might foreign news coverage become more cautious or self-censoring after high-profile defamation suits like this one? Trump suits $10 billion against British Broadcasting Corporation.
Thank you for the question. I believe this is an older story, but there are some updates regarding this issue. As on December 15th and 16th, US President and former President Donald Trump officially sued the British Broadcasting Service in a US federal court, seeking up to $10 billion in damages, claiming defamation and deceptive trade practices. Okay, so once again, the lead head of news and the director of Tim Davie, if I'm not wrong, he had resigned, and usually the British Broadcasting Service has been inaccurate in certain regards even in the past, but it often followed by a public apology to the public for the grievances or the misrepresentation of the facts that they are supposed to do or that they are assigned to represent. But one must understand that there is some kind of a relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States of America. At this moment, the story unveiled that Donald Trump incited the riots against the Capitol, and that is how the British Broadcasting Service had created this documentary. Of course, when he did come to power once again as the second, in his second term as the 47th president, he came to the point of retaliation against this remark, because he remembers how he was shown as to be the one to incite the people to go against the Capitol. So once again, I would say that at this moment, if he were to pursue this lawsuit against the BBC, there would be a faltering of ties between the United Kingdom and as well as the United States of America. And in whole, US administration the past couple of weeks have been moving away from European allies, not only regarding the Ukraine-Russia war, but as a whole in general.
All right, sir. I have checked in the history. This is the largest amount of defamation lawsuit against an organization like BBC. I have two back-to-back questions for Norman. Norman, what are the legal challenges in proving political electoral harm from broadcast editing? And second question would be, could this lawsuit backfire politically for the Trump administration, because BBC is still #1 in the world?
Thank you for the question. The lawsuit represents a situation where free press, international correspondents, and journalists in whole must fact check. They must make sure what they put out is correct, and speed is not always the best answer to putting out information. In this situation, changing the narrative for the purpose of news sensation is something that is, in this case, could be costly to the news service and also to basically journalists overall. We must have a new policy on some type of rapid retraction policy, some protocol need to be in place. So if something should be put out in there, there's a time limit which they can correct it and put out the correct information. But right now, the situation, freedom of speech is now questioned. What can be put out there, how it could be put out there, and in this case, who? How this message is put out, particularly for a world leader. In this situation, President Trump has been appeared to be a victimized of this type of political misconduct.
All right, Norman, let us shift to Trump-led Ukraine peace and security talks. I will begin with my very favorite Professor Imtiaz. Sir, US, European and Ukrainian leaders report significant progress toward ending the Russia-Ukraine war. A new plan includes NATO-like security guarantees, not NATO membership for Ukraine, a possible multinational force and discussions on frozen Russian assets. But key disputes on territory and enforcement remain. President Trump and Zelensky stress cautious optimism. I have a very humble question to you. What are the main strategic benefits and risk for Ukraine accepting Article 5-like guarantees instead of full NATO membership, which was their dream?
Well, I don't think Zelensky has a way out of this. And I say this because there have been three developments recently which we must keep note of. One development is the publication of the US National Security Strategy, November 2025. That's a huge, I would say, a tectonic shift on the part of the United States. If you read, and it's not long, it's 29 pages, you will see how the US National Security Strategy literally bashed Europe and made it very clear the United States doesn't want to be the hegemon or doesn't want to be the global power. It says it doesn't benefit us at all. And there are pages after page bashing Europe. So it's a clear signal that US is rethinking whatever relationship that the United States managed to have since World War II. I think that era and the strategy paper makes it very clear. And the very fact that it got published after 1 year after his coming to or winning the election clearly shows that they have given a thought. But I have said in many places that one should read the US National Security Strategy as part of what I would say two earlier documents, if I can use that word. One is the Leadership 2025 that got published a year or two before the national election that Trump won. The Heritage Foundation document, which the summary version in itself is nearly 1,000 pages, whereas the whole set is 20 volumes. 350 researchers were involved and 60 institutions were also involved. So that document, and the second one is J.D. Vance's speech at the Security Summit, and now the National Security Strategy. If you read all these three, it looks the Republican Party has a consistent rethinking of the relationship with Europe.
Yes, sir.
So that's one part I think that needs to be flagged into as we discuss. The second one is, and I'll come back why the first one is so important. The second one is Putin's visit to Delhi. I think that also had a again a major shift because Russia got access to the Indian Ocean, and one would say also India was also given access to the Arctic. But this is a big change. Earlier, the Indian Ocean, the United States was the major superpower. Russia did not have that access at all, but now the Russian vessels were allowed to use the Indian ports. So that's a big change globally. The third one is what Donald Trump focused on, trying to create a new alliance called C5. Now that's the interest, and I thought the best way to remember would be to call it curries. We are familiar with South Asian curry. So curries, because you have China, C, you have United States, U, you have Russia, R, you have India, I, and J, Japan. So the curries would be, and the very fact that United States policymakers could think something of that kind is, I think, is interesting. Whether that would get materialized or not, but the interesting thing to look into curries is the absence of Europe. So it clearly gives the indication that whatever Zelensky is saying is not going to go very far. I think a deal is coming, and we just have to wait when that deal will come to stop the Ukraine war.
Very fascinating analysis, and I found a paradigm shift from focus to focus. I want to include Shamsulam Pantho. He is our international affairs commentator. Sir, how might a multinational force in Ukraine alter the military balance and deter future aggression from Russia to Ukraine or other neighboring countries?
Thank you for the question. From what I understand, the coalition of the willing is headed by the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. And they have, to a certain degree, as well as Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, they have all come to the table to sit with Volodymyr Zelensky to let him know that he is not alone in this aggression from Russia. And they have discussed on rebuilding and reconstruction of Ukraine, or at least to the damaged parts of Ukraine that has been damaged in the war. Yesterday, we were doing the commentary regarding this war, and one of the things that came out from Zelensky's table was that they no longer have the aspiration to be a part of NATO. This is a different strategy and tactic coming from this Ukrainian leader, because as far as I know, this was one of the issues that Russia used as a reason to attack Ukraine in the first place. If you look at the eastern side, there is the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, a huge energy infrastructure, which at this moment is defunct, and it needs to be restarted for the betterment of the nations. But the eastern flank, whether it should be a demilitarized zone or whether it will be under Russian control, what is the position of the US in this regard? These are the questions that are still left unanswered. But according to the major news outlets, we know that Donald Trump is really pleased with progress on Ukraine peace deal, and some of the people who are there during the negotiations briefed reporters on their progress, saying that literally 90% of the issues between Ukraine and Russia are solved, and acknowledging that there are some more things that still have to be worked out. But this is the result of 3.5 years of war, multiple casualties, and finally some kind of breakthrough in this kind of war.
All right, so let us go to take the Washington's perspective from Norman Flatt Barnes. Norman, what are the diplomatic obstacles in reconciling Russia's security demands with Ukraine's territorial sovereignty or concession? I have one more addition with this. How could use of frozen Russian assets for reconstruction influence EU and US unity?
Yes, thank you for the question. The situation itself is that this war between Russia and Ukraine is going to come to an end. The concessions are going to determine how we move forward. Right now, the obstacle or the question about NATO has been put to the table. Ukraine is ready to concede that. The issue regarding the military, it appears that that's going to change. They're going to reduce the amount of military that Ukraine is allowed to have. The security from the EU, supported by the United States, which they call a platinum standard, is in place to uh, take place. But the issue is still and has always remained the issue of territory. There's a war, there's a conflict on territory. That's one of the initial plans, and that is not going to change. Yes, there will be some parts of Ukraine that will be given up as part of this agreement, but there'll still be internal conflicts. We have technology, we have drones, we have some, all types of other things that can take place in a Cold War status. So peace is not going to come to the region, just a sensation of it. And I believe that it will only last about 38 to 40 months. And then we'll be back in the same situation again. And this unresolved issue is going to continue.
All right, let us look at the violation by Israeli Prime Minister attacking Gaza and what White House expressed. I have a news. White House revokes Israel over Gaza ceasefire violation. The United States privately reprimanded Israeli. I can use some other words for this, criticize, warning or scolded Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu after a strike in Gaza killed militants and civilians, both seen as breaching the ceasefire. Tensions over peace plan implementation may erode Trump's broker image. I just want to get the first impression from Professor Imtiaz. Sir, what are the implications of the US publicly holding Israel accountable for a ceasefire violation? Because it is very criticized by almost all political leaders and peacemakers.
No, I don't think you are going to see a major shift unless and until the Israeli people come out, and they have actually, come out against Netanyahu, particularly when Netanyahu wrote to the Israeli president to pardon him on some of the corruption cases. I think, there were thousands of Israelis have come out. That's not on the table. So I've been saying for some time that his days are also numbered. So it would, we have to wait and see how Israeli people, rise to the occasion. They should do more. They have not. There are some surveys which still shows that, Netanyahu's policy against Palestinians have, quite a large support in Israel. Unless that gets shifted, at the same time, unless people in the West, particularly Europe and the United States, if their position doesn't shift, which is shifting also, I have to say very quickly. If you look at some of the demonstrations taking place in Europe and some of the cities in the United States almost regularly now, that will put pressure, because the United States has to come up and say enough is enough, and we are no longer supporting this colonial settlement, because this is a settler colonialism, or the last last colonial settlement, if you can we use that word. So whether they are going to do it or not, because as I have said earlier, I think in this room, that the other way is to make Israel the 51st state of the United States and solve the problem, because in that way at least the US Constitution would be used. Yes. And democracy would prevail, and not an apartheid state. So I think I have tremendous faith on people of the United States and people of Europe, because they have transformed their respective governments many a times. I remember during my student life, the anti-Vietnam War, it was the people. Yes, the Vietnamese were also giving them a hard time, but the change in the people mindset in Europe and in the United States stopped the Vietnam War. So, as I said, I have faith in the American people and the Europeans that they will rise to the occasion. Unless that happens, I'm afraid we are not going to see the end of this tragedy that we see in Gaza.
Absolutely fascinating. Sir, I want to come to you because from day one I can remember you said this ceasefire is absolutely a fragile ceasefire. It will not work. But at least you have seen President Trump privately scolded Israeli Prime Minister. Don't do it, don't do it. My question is, how can the ceasefire agreement mechanisms be strengthened to prevent future breaches?
Thank you for the question. In this regard, I would want to point out that there is some kind of reciprocal relationship between the US and Israel, as Dr. Imtiaz was asserting this issue. And of course, if you look at the incident that happened in Bondi Beach, almost 15 people were killed, 40 others injured. And Benjamin Netanyahu, of course, said this was, he said in these words, we saw Jewish heroism at its peak. Of course, he made this comment without knowing that Mr. Ahmed Al-Ahmed was a Muslim man and, of course, is a generous fruit seller in Australia. But then later he said he's a brave man, a Muslim brave man, and I salute him. So he does not, he believes that it's always someone from the Muslim community that is carrying out these anti-Semitism attacks. So, of course, he had blamed the Australian policy leadership to fail to curb the disease of anti-Semitism. So, I would want to come back to Israeli issues at hand. You asked me about the ceasefire and how these violations are adding on. Yes, during the before the ceasefire, the amount of people that were being killed and injured was much higher than what it is today. Although the Israeli side still is carrying out these attacks on a very regular basis, there is no kind of media press release from the IDF saying that we will no longer commit to any such atrocities towards the Gazan people. These are quite important immediately after a ceasefire, as I believe. The role of Qatar and Egypt to a certain extent does lay down the groundwork for a renewed Gaza or a reconstruction of Gaza, but that is it's going to take many years for them to recover from the state they are in. But if you look back at history, 80 years ago, the leader of Germany at the time, Adolf Hitler, had eliminated 1 million Jews. Why? It remains a big question. It was the faltering of the ties. It was the moment of the last century.
The figure would be 6 million.
6 million.
6 million Jews. Apologies to our viewers. 6 million. So you must recollect and question why they had to go that far.
All right, let me talk to Washington, where very veteran journalist, former ambassador and peacemaker Norman Flood Barnes is there. Norman, sir, I just want to know what leverage does the US actually have over Israeli military decisions, and how might this tension influence future Arab-Israeli normalization efforts? Along with, I just want to remind you what my very favorite teacher, Professor Imtiaz, says, why United States is not going to take over or declare Israel as 51st state. It will solve all the problems, sir. It's a good idea.
Thank you for the question, but I don't believe that we are ready to absorb a 51st state. We having enough issues here with the 50 states here, trying to contain a fractured type of government we have right now. We have a administration that is has that plan, but not all of the 50 states believe in his plan. So having a 51st state will not add to the solution. It will only exacerbate the issue and the problem we're having right now. So we have to really look at the situation with Israel. They are in a situation where they want to continue this onslaught of Gaza and through the prime minister continue with this type of fighting. The consequence, as we mentioned, as we saw in Bondi Beach, and now there's been alerts put out, particularly in the United States and other parts, that they want Jewish communities to take extra security precautions. The intelligence is that there will be acts that will continue, particularly during this holiday period, and is a direct result of Israel aggression on the people of Gaza. So we have to look at the whole situation and decide how we need to come to a peaceful term to this, because this is not going away. The persecution of a people is not going to be looked well upon by the people of the United States and the people of the world. People can relate to this. They do not agree with this type of situation, and how the United States handles Israel is being scrutinized. Is not being tolerated. And again, we have a midterm coming up, and this is one of the issues that will be on the table: how we deal with our foreign policies, particularly how do we manage Israel. And right now, we're not doing a great job.
All right, sir. I was supposed to go to the commercial break, but I thought that I should do one question to Dr. Imtiaz, sir. The question is very simple. What role should international monitors play on the ground to uphold this ceasefire between Israel and Gaza, because Israel is continuously violating, killing people, innocent women? How to monitor this?
No, that again will, thank you, that again will depend on the United States, as I said, unless United States comes out heavily, it's not going to work, because, Israel is doing what it is doing, is, largely or wholly with Western weapons. Of course, there are European countries also supplying weapons. But whole logistics, if you look at the training, everything is linked to the United States. So, and that's the reason I was saying, although I know it's not going to happen, but this idea of making Israel the 51st state, but de facto it is the 51st state. Let's put it that way. But the only thing is that it does not abide by U.S. Constitution. That's the problem. If it had all the, the diplomatic norms, the rules that the United States had, then there would have been no problem. It doesn't, it's a very apartheid state, fully apartheid state, let's put it that way, and it's now a genocidal state. And this is, not something that we from Asia we are saying, the Europeans are saying, the American researchers are saying, that Netanyahu, whatever Netanyahu is committing is a genocide. So my point here is, unless the United States withdraws its support from Israel, Israel will continue doing what it's doing. Now, is that possible? I don't think it's possible, because Zionism, don't forget, is more popular among the Christian Zionists than among the Jews. The Jews have come out this time openly saying that we are not part of whatever Netanyahu and Israel government is saying. No, they have openly said that this is not Judaism, this is not our religion, preaches. But the Christian Zionists and the survey in the United States have shown that more Christian Zionists support what Netanyahu is doing than the Jews. So why are we using Judaism or Jewish religion as an issue? It is not. It's a political issue. It's a issue of religious Zionism. That's one part of it. But more importantly, where you have the United States supporting the Israel military. Now, unless that gets cancelled, now is that possible? I don't think any president doing it will have a hard time. Don't forget, the Israeli lobbies are very strong, and there's a talk about Israeli lobbies funding the politicians, both the Republicans and the Democrats, what critics refer to as deep state. So the point here is these are issues. So I still think Donald Trump is trying his best to get out of this, and that's the reason I flagged the US national security strategy. I think one should go into it. There hasn't been much discussion on this. I don't know whether you have done it here in this room, a separate discussion on US national security, but I think it's required because this is a fundamental shift if it can be done. But as I say, that it looks like a part of a process and not suddenly that Donald Trump is thinking about a different kind of a structure of the United States. So the process is quite strong, I would believe, and so we need to see whether that would come, because and we haven't discussed Venezuela, we haven't discussed the deficit. United States economy is not a good shape, and that's the reason we see yes, there are a lot of talk about Venezuela in terms of cracking on the drugs, but delegation from the United States are visiting Venezuela to resolve this issue, because they know that it has to be resolved. At the same time, Donald Trump is trying again to win over China in one way or other, and that is the reason why we have curries now. So the very fact you have a alliance system called curries tells you that we need to look into this, because these are real issues. Unless and until we look into real issues, I am afraid we will not be able to resolve these issues. So today or tomorrow, yes, the Gaza crisis will end, but at what cost and how quickly? Because it looks like Netanyahu is not going to do what people are expecting him to do, that is to abide by ceasefire, because the moment he goes for peace, he has to go out of the office. Not only him, but his whole group. So it's a big challenge for him.
All right, sir. Norman has the time limitation, so I want to do the last question to Norman. You have 1 minute only, I can see. You are hearing Professor Imtiaz, very knowledgeable, very experienced personality. Do you like to respond to him?
I'd just like to add to his discussions. The situation with Israel in the Middle East it's been supported by the United States. Until the United States decides to withdraw its support, which it will not, withdraw weapons, military support, we will have this ongoing problem. At one point, we support Israel. Yes, we tell them we'll support you. We provide weapons to you, but we are telling them not to use the weapons. That is not working. It's not going to work. We have to decide that we have to tell them, stop. No, we're not going to give you any more. And the Arab countries has to come in. They have to get involved. They have
Norman,
to be
sir, we are going to be disconnected in a few seconds. I really appreciate your participation. Have a great day in Washington.
Thank you.
Sir, we will have to go for a short commercial break, but we have still many issues like United States is in a plan to invade Venezuela. On the other side, other part of the world, Cambodia, Thailand, situation is intensifying and investigation is also going on terror attacks. We'll come back soon.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স, পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 Roberts Lane, Singapore 218302. Phone 0065 629 24900. বাংলাদেশ থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে পণ্য বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন ঢাকা সহ দেশের যে কোনো ৮০টি শাখা কেন্দ্রে। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, আপনার সেবা সব সময়।
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort.
Cambodia warns of Thai military strikes. Cambodia says Thai bombs threaten displaced civilians and major tourist sites including around Angkor, wet amid escalating border conflict. We want to bring it on the table. Sir, I just want to ask you one question. How serious is the risk of civilians and displaced communities if Thai military strikes continue near the Cambodia-Thailand border? I just want to remind you one thing. They have 250 years of good neighboring history, and both the ruling party of both the countries have the relationship, blood connections. Why these things is happening?
It's very difficult to know. I think we need serious research on this, but one thing is clear, that when things like this happen, the first question you have to answer: who benefits? Who benefits from this crisis and this conflict? Now, then probably we'll get the answer, is who benefits. The way some changes took place in Thailand, in the government, that can be one indication to look and see who has benefited from it, because I remember the former Prime Minister used to use the word uncle when referring to the Cambodian leader at one point of time. But as I said, it's an interesting conflict that is taking place, because a lot of people used to flag ASEAN as a role model, that ASEAN has resolved conflicts within. Of course, they have conflicts in Myanmar, but that is with Bangladesh on the issue of Rohingya. But on the whole, they managed pretty well for many years. But now it looks like there are issues inside ASEAN which has not been resolved. So hopefully, if we can focus on who benefits from it, then to look into it, whether those actors can be tamed or can be put into a place where they will also know that having a better relationship is much more profitable than whatever they are doing for their interest. So I still think there should be serious research as to who is benefiting from this conflict.
Sir, I have gone to the international media. I didn't find any evidence of Thai bombing to the Cambodian border, but Cambodia is claiming. I just want to know, what evidence has Cambodia presented to support its claim that Thai bombs are threatening civilian areas and tourist sites? I just want to remind you one thing. In Thailand, according to their royal constitution, hanging people is prohibited there. Killing people is prohibited there, because it's a Buddhist nation. And Thai royal family has a huge reputation worldwide as a peaceful. They have been offered Nobel Peace Prize. They said, receiving peace prize is not our job. Keeping our people peaceful is our job. I want to know why Cambodia is claiming so.
Thank you for the question, bringing the topic towards Cambodia and Thailand. I want to open by saying that schools across parts of Cambodia and Thailand closed on Monday as border clashes between the two countries continued. The death toll is at least 40 people dead and displacing hundreds of thousands of people, according to officials and local media in the both countries. And also there is another news that coming out of this very issue. Thailand halted fuel shipments via Laos to Cambodia in an attempt to pressure Cambodia amid the conflict escalation. So these are the two different fields. One is playing with the market and playing with the supply of fuel, and then of course there is a social demographic issue. Well, schools will remain closed. It will only etch into the hearts of the people on both sides that the children could not go to school because of policy indifferences between the two territories. Once again, I want to say that I have traveled earlier on to Siem Reap, this region that you were saying, Angkor Wat. I have visited this complex. It holds enormous religious and historical context in that complex over there, and it is a huge tourist hotspot. And according to the recent, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site as far as I know. And yes, it's not just that, there is a tourist slump that's going on around that region. It is very widely known. It is the centerpiece of Cambodian heritage to a certain degree. And officials confirmed that this is the first time in recent round of clashes that fighting on ground or air that had reached the Siem Reap province, very close to this Angkor Wat complex. It is a very old monument, probably thousands of years old. And as right now they are having a peace prayer ceremony at the Angkor Wat complex to understand how to de-escalate this war. As Professor Dr. Imtiaz was saying, that ASEAN had a very big role in recent times to bring down this conflict, and Malaysia and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim had brought the two sides to a ceasefire. But renewed fighting has occurred over the last 2 weeks, and this seems to be only going on more and more.
Sir, you have given me a good clue. I was actually preparing a question for Professor Imtiaz sir. Are diplomatic channels and ASEAN mechanisms being used effectively, or is the regional response falling short in preventing escalation between these two neighboring peaceful nations?
Well, the very fact that there are skirmishes and air attacks and all shows that diplomacy has failed. Because if diplomacy had succeeded, then this would not have happened. Now, as I said, we really must go deeper and look as to why that is happening, why suddenly, who is benefiting from all this. But as I said, and as Panto was saying, it gives a bad name to ASEAN, because a lot of people relied on ASEAN, and don't forget, ASEAN countries were really coming up as an economic power. That's a big one. Don't forget, ASEAN's also turnabout in having a big relationship with China. So there are geopolitical issues also, I think, connected to this conflict. So, and I don't want to jump into all those, because we need serious research. As a researcher, I just can't use whatever talk show things come up, because I must have evidence. But one can give a sense that there has been geopolitical issues for quite some time with ASEAN, and it looks like the very fact that ASEAN is also becoming a polar. Because we are moving into a multipolar world. And I've said this here also, that there's no way to stop that multipolarity. Now, are there actors who are not interested in making ASEAN one of the polars? We don't know. So I think it's important to look into ASEAN, because at the end it will impact on ASEAN. Because
all right, sir. As you said, ASEAN. You indicated geopolitical influence. I just want to remind our international affairs commentator 3 incidents. India and China has border disputes, border arguments.
2018 as well.
Right, sir. Bangladesh and Myanmar has Rohingya issues. Now, Cambodia and Thailand started a new issue. My question is, could this border conflict destabilizes wider regional security, and what role should international actors play in de-escalation, because this region is very vastly populated area, and Professor Imtiaz sir already indicated a geopolitical influence dominance for a multipolar world. So I personally assume there are something going on.
In the brief time I've lived over the last 10 years inside Southeast Asia, I've lived in Malaysia and Singapore combined, and what I noticed from the both economies is that they have some sort of backing, some sort of backup from China. China has huge investments inside these countries, the Southeast Asia corridor. They look towards Chinese development, Chinese foreign direct investment towards their economies to build these economies to a certain degree. I am of belief that there is some kind of force trying to destabilize Asia as a whole. You cannot ignore the fact that it is not just Cambodia and Thailand or India and Pakistan. Recent times we've seen a female head of state for Japan who has openly remarked regarding China. And what China had done is it has cut the import of fish from Japan. It has harmed aviation industry. Almost 500,000 people have lost their flight access. This is Asia as a whole. If you look at Asia as a whole, it's not just all of these small countries and China. It is China trying to work with all of these small countries. And once again, we must look at the relationship between Asia and as well as the West. When I talk about the West, it is definitely the United States of America. They have their local, in Asia, they have their allied countries, South Korea as well as Japan. And, Taiwan is an issue for them every now and then. The Taiwanese issue, or how the Chinese look at the reunification plan with Taiwan. All of these issues do come to the major mainstream media every now and then. But according to recent times, I have not seen, while I was in Southeast Asia, that Thailand and Cambodia were sharing such hostilities as they are doing in the year 2025.
All right, sir. Today is 16th December, National Victory Day. I want to get your take, then I will end the program with such a person. Is well known for his patriotism, neutrality, wisdom. I want to conclude with him. First, I want to get your take on 16 December National Victory Day. Do you have any?
The only thing I would like to say is that I wouldn't want to look at the past, but I would want to remember that we can only achieve victory as a sovereign nation when we will be done with aggression from all other sides. That's as far as I am able to say regarding Victory Day. And of course, happy Victory Day. It's a government holiday today. I really hope that everyone spends quality time with their family members. And of course, it's a holiday, so I've got nothing more to say but to wish them a happy Victory Day.
See the difference. New generation people are talking about the future, current situation, present, not past. Sir, I want to get your very humble take on the day of our victory.
Well, it's important to remember T.S. Eliot's words in 4 quarters, and the words, if I am correct, remembering it, it says, "Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past." So you cannot have future by erasing the past or the present. They're all intertwined. I think Eliot got it, in an interesting way. But so will science will say the same thing. If you're into quantum mechanics or any science, you need to see what has gone at the earlier phases and all. So 16th December is an important date, no doubt, in Bangladesh's history. But as we all know, no single date is enough, good enough. I think the will to struggle, and I remember we were students at that time, what is known as Gen Z. I was just a class 9 student, but we were very active in those days, and we know what has happened. So I guess as Pantho was saying, we need more to, you can't stop there. I think this date is so important because it energizes you to do more. We can't let the very idea that got floated on that day, get lost or go somewhere else. So it is important to work more seriously and passionately, so that we have a Bangladesh in the future which is proud and can make a difference to the world.
Yes, I also want to say Happy Victory Day to all of the proud citizens of Bangladesh. But I'm really remembering one remarks and quotes on past, present, and future by Russian philosopher Boris Sanslanovsky. He said, "Today, I mean, present will be past tomorrow. Tomorrow, I mean, future will be present today and will be past day after tomorrow. But past will remain past forever." Ladies and gentlemen, let us forget about the past, let us build the nation. And I want to give you a news as breaking news. New Delhi air pollution reached world's worst level, affecting health and transport, part of broader environmental concerns tied to urbanization and climate degradation. The Delhi policymakers look at your city, not to Bangladesh.